Hello, everybody. We have Chris Adams and Ted Bercuzzi with us today, and we are interviewing Chris as one of our past presidents for the PMI Rochester chapter. Chris, you are the fourth president the chapter had from 1992 to 1993 through 1993. So thank you. Thank you for the donation of your time. And what we're here to do today is pick your brain, figure out everything that you enjoyed doing and what you loved about being the president of the chapter and what drew you to PMI Rochester. The very first question I have for you, though, is what drew you to project management?
My undergraduate degree was in industrial engineering, and that's what I came to Kodak for. Project management was a topic that was discussed for, I think, a 1-hour seminar one time. So that was my first exposure, but
Wow.
I was intrigued by it. And after a few initial years at Kodak as a traditional industrial engineer, I had the opportunity to begin working with a research and development team on developing new films, if anybody remembers what film is, for Kodak. And they asked me to assist them from an organization and project management consulting perspective. So back in the mid 80s, that was my first application, or one of my first applications, and I liked it, and I stayed with it ever since. I became one of the company experts in consulting on that. And I just, in terms of just general project management, just the idea of organizing and planning and doing good risk management and reacting in real time to issues that come up and communication, all those things put together to achieve a goal, whatever the goal of a project might be. That fascinated me. I thought I had some skill there that I could apply, and and kind of my experience at Kodak led me into looking at what professional organizations might be available out there to help keep my skills sharp and to network.
That's fantastic. So they are really on the cutting edge of project management growing in popularity and in usability. And so your career has really traveled through and seen that growth of project management as a career field.
Yes, yeah, I would say that we were on the early front there. I want to give a lot of credit to Randy Bakel, who was the head of an internal project management division at Kodak at that time. And somehow Randy was starting to get connected into the Project Management Institute and had the vision to see that maybe we could establish a chapter in Rochester. And that was around 1985, I believe. And I do not take any credit for being one of the founding members, but I worked with those founding members, and I joined within a year of the chapter being established, and worked with some of those founding members quite well. I know I won't remember all the names or be able to give them all credit, but people from Randy's division like Linda Balducci and Joe Lucas, who was another chapter president, Gary Herkins, also another chapter president. Those were some of the key founding members, and then I got involved, and I liked what they were up to. It was just a very small group at first, maybe maybe 25 or 30 people. I don't think this is unusual for any kind of professional organization, but they had this core group, this critical mass. They happened to mostly be Kodak people, but they had the ability to communicate effectively within that group and generate some excitement. So a lot of the founding members and initial members of the chapter were from Kodak, recognizing the need to expand from there once they got off the ground.
So speaking of Kodak, how far back do you and Ted go?
Mid-90s?
I started in '79 at Kodak.
81 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you guys?
I don't think we probably hooked up probably early in the mid-90s, I would think, Chris. I know after that we didn't hook up.
What was our, how did we cross paths within Kodak?
Project management, projects.
Okay. I had about a 38-year career, and I'm losing a lot of brain cells over the past couple of years. So, so don't test me too much on history. But
We won't. And speaking of which, I saw you're retired now,
as of 2 years ago, yep.
and
Good
you're
for you.
planning.
Congratulations, Chris.
Yes.
Thank you.
So one of the things I wanted to ask is, well, let's go back really quickly. I just want to rewind just 1 minute to industrial engineering. For those of us who aren't familiar with that career path, what is that, and how did you see any parallels into project management, or vice versa?
Yeah. Well, traditional. At my school, there were two fields of study that were combined into the degree. Industrial engineering was the one, and another one was called operations research. And the operations research is a fancy title for something that's not necessarily so fancy. But the way I would describe it to people not familiar with it is the use of math to make decisions, simply put. And they can get involved with mathematical modeling or use of statistics. And that was really what was emphasized for me. Well, it turns out that when you are looking at a traditional project network, and you're asking questions like, what's the critical path? Which is another way of saying, what's the longest route through the network? That is really a simple version of an operations research type question. So you're doing your math through the whole network and saying, what's the longest one? It's as simple as that. And then, and all the concepts like float and everything else, carry on from there. So that was one of the connections between my study and project management. Now, traditional industrial engineering, there's not so much of it as there used to be, but the basic emphasis in industrial engineering was being efficient, especially in manufacturing. So manufacturing methods, everything that we have in more modern times around like Kanban and all those things really come out of the traditional industrial engineering field. So if you tie that into project management, I would say that it's the idea of trying to achieve a goal as efficiently as possible with your resources. So we all know in projects, you never have all the resources you want. You may not be able to accomplish all the goals that you'd like to, but you're trying to do the best you can with what you have. And I think that's a tie into industrial engineering.
That's very cool. Because also, sometimes it doesn't matter if you load on additional resources, you're still not going to be able to get there to accomplish the end. The issue is something different. So it's not lack of resources. It's you've got to troubleshoot and figure out all the other different avenues of what it could be. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, so I think there's one of the old time sayings that's along the lines of, if it takes one person an hour to dig a hole, that doesn't mean that 60 people are going to be able to get it done in a minute.
I don't think I've ever heard that one. I like that one.